life upon life. It lives through me as perfect activity. Right now, I cease to separate myself from God. I let my good come into my activity. I let it flow in generously and abundantly. I know there is no great or small in the eyes of God. I'm open to receive. I'm accepting divine good from an infinite source. I'm opening up and accepting money from some unexpected source that I don't know. And as a result, I'm accepting abundance. I'm expecting to prosper. I am expecting the unexpected. I have no concerns about paying taxes on this money. I have no concern about paying tithes. I put up no barriers to receive my good. I am completely open and receptive to the inflow of infinite good in my life. I know there's nothing wrong about money. It is put here for our use. The substance of life is God in action, and God wants you to have the very best. God wants you to go through life first class. Can you really take that in, beloved, and understand that? There is something exciting about expecting and accepting the unexpected. It expands our consciousness and opens the way for infinite mind to live through us. So I now open my mind up to that. I thank thee, Father, who I know is the source of all life, and I say, so it is. So now we do our statement of faith, and I'm going to read it out loud, and you at home can say it after me, and those that are here can repeat it after me too as well. Love produces a flow of energy that I now feel.
Love produces a flow of energy that I now feel.
I love others more than ever.
I love others more than ever.
And I feel privileged to be here.
And I feel privileged to be here.
Love flows from one person to another in this sanctuary, even when you're not here.
In this sanctuary, even when you're not here.
As we create an atmosphere of holiness. And so it is. So right now, normally we would have music. I would introduce the musician, but we're not doing that today. So we'll jump ahead to the spiritual mind treatment. So all close your eyes and think along with me again about how I am secure. The word secure comes from two small Latin words, C-S-E, meaning without, and cure, C-U-R-E, meaning care. Being without care is secure. Freedom from anxiety, knowing that divine intelligence is all there is. It guides my life, and I gratefully respond to its direction. Progressing easily within this cosmic force, I know that my every need, desire, or request is at hand. There is nothing outside the circumstance of God, and in this knowledge, I rest easily and securely. This day holds only that which is all good. Nothing stands in the way of experiencing that which is my very best interest. I am secure, without anxiety, especially with all that's going on in our world right now. And I easily address all my challenges and adventures. All is one. I see everything as God, and I relax without care, knowing that my faith in the one makes even the crooked road straight. I move freely down my life's path, acknowledging the power of God and giving great thanks for the ease that I have come to know in my life because of this. And so it is.
So it is.
Normally we would have another song now, so if you want to sing at home, that would be great. And maybe they come through the airways and we can hear you. The next thing we would do is spiritual reading, and so I'm trying to get people who are on the spiritual reading team or otherwise here. And Steve is here today, so he's going to come up and do the spiritual reading. Let's welcome Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to start with a couple of quotes that were from a few days ago from Science of Mind, from their daily thoughts. There is no great and no small to the soul that maketh all, and hence it cometh, all things are. It cometh everywhere. That's from Ralph Waldo Emerson. So far as the law is concerned, it does not know anything about big and little. That's Ernest Holmes. And the reason I bring those two quotes is because even though things seem to be really up in the air and different, strange, and all that, we're still operating under the law. The law never changes. So, and it's affecting great and small. So we're not alone in this. We're all in this together. The name of my spiritual reading is COVID Blessings. And the way I came up with it is I put those two words into Google, and I found COVID Blessings. And the first one I found is the one I'm going to read. Pope Francis offered his meditation on the meaning of the COVID-19 pandemic and its implications for humanity March 27th before raising a monstrance, whatever that is, with the Blessed Sacrament and giving an extraordinary blessing, Urbi et Orbi, to the city and to the world. Popes usually give this blessing, Urbi et Orbi, only immediately after their election and on Christmas and Easter. Pope Francis opened the service in a rain-drenched, empty St. Peter's Square, praying that the Almighty and merciful God would see how people are suffering and give them comfort. He asked to care for the sick and the dying, for medical workers exhausted by caring for the sick, and for political leaders who bear the burden of making decisions to protect their people. The service included the reading of the Gospel of Mark's account of Jesus calming the stormy sea. Let us invite Jesus into the boats of our lives, the Pope said. Let us hand over our fears to him so that he can conquer them. Like the disciples in the stormy Sea of Galilee, he said, we will experience that with him on board. There will be no shipwreck because this is God's strength, turning to the good everything that happens to us, even the bad things. The gospel passage began. When the evening had come and the Pope said that with the pandemic and the sickness and death, and with the lockdowns and the closures of schools and workplaces, it has felt like 4 weeks now it has been evening. Thick darkness has gathered over our squares, our streets, and our cities. It has taken over our lives, filling everything with a deafening silence and a distressing void that stops everything as it passes by. The Pope said, we feel it in the air. We notice it in people's gestures. Their glances give them away. We find ourselves afraid and lost, he said. Like the disciples in the gospel, we were caught off guard by an unexpected turbulent storm. However, the pandemic storm has made most people realize that we are on the same boat. All of us are fragile and disoriented, the Pope said. And it has shown how each person has a contribution to make, at least in comforting each other. On this boat are all of us, he said. The pandemic, the Pope said, had exposed our vulnerability to and uncovers those false and superfluous certainties around which we have constructed our daily schedules, our projects, our habits, and priorities. In the midst of the storm, Pope Francis said, God is calling people to faith, which is not just believing God exists, but turning to him and trusting him. It is a time to decide to live differently, live better, love more, and care for others, he said. And every community is filled with people who can be role models, individuals who, even though fearful, have reacted by giving their lives. Pope Francis said the Holy Spirit can use the pandemic to redeem value and demonstrate how our lives are woven together and sustained by ordinary people, often forgotten people, who do not appear in newspapers and magazine headlines, but are serving others and making life possible during the pandemic. The Pope listed doctors, nurses, supermarket employees, cleaners, caregivers, providers of transport, law and order forces, volunteers, priests, religious men and women, and so very many others who have understood that no one reaches salvation by themselves. How many people every day are exercising patience and offering hope, taking care to sow, not panic, but a shared responsibility? He said, how many fathers, mothers, grandparents, and teachers are showing our children in small everyday gestures how to face up to and navigate a crisis by adjusting their routines, lifting their gaze, and fostering prayer? How many are praying, offering, and interceding for the good of all? He said, prayer and quiet service, these are our victorious weapons. In the boat, when the disciples pled with Jesus to do something, Jesus responded, why are you afraid? Have you no faith? Lord, your word this evening strikes us and regards us, all of us, the Pope said, in this world that you love more than we do. We have gone ahead at breakneck speed, feeling powerful and able to do anything. Greedy for profit, we let ourselves get caught up in things and be lured away by haste. We did not stop at your reproach to us. We were not shaken awake by wars or injustice across the world, nor did we listen to the cry of the poor or our ailing planet. Pope Francis said, we carried on regardless, thinking we could stay healthy in a world that was sick. He said, now that we are at a stormy sea, we implore you, wake up, Lord. The Lord is calling on people to put into practice that solidarity and hope capable of giving strength, support, and meaning to these hours when everything seems to be foundering. The Pope said, may God's blessing come down upon you as a consoling embrace. He said, Lord, may you bless the world, give health to our bodies, and comfort our hearts. You ask us not to be afraid, yet our faith is weak, and we are fearful. But you, Lord, will not leave us at the mercy of the storm. That's what the Pope said. Speaking personally, in my business, I consider it to be an essential business. That's how it's been designated. I provide services on vital systems like heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration, and increasingly restaurant equipment. It's not my first choice for a career. It's just kind of what I fell into, and people adopted me and brought me into their fold, and I couldn't quit. It's a life of service, and I have greatly enjoyed it. But now, all of my customers are shut down, and all of my income is cut off. And other forces have caused me to not just regroup or whatever, but I'm probably going to have to close my business down. My business will be one of the fatalities. However, I will not, because this is giving me an opportunity to look at my life and as to what it has evolved to. And that opportunity is showing me a lot of things that I took for granted and that I had false impressions about. So I'm coming to a different realization about my life. And I'm seeing opportunities are starting to spring up for me. And this is something to be very grateful for, and I am a very grateful person. Thank you.
Thank you. Normally before the spiritual reading, we would have taken a collection for our Christmas kids. So those at home, if you have a jar, a penny jar or something, put all your change in it so that you remember to give it to us later on when you're here, or send it to us. So before I start on the talk today, I just want to tell you all about how this is about love. And I would like you to take an opportunity right now to feel God's love inside of your body, no matter what's going on with you. And remember what I said last week during the meditation, to remember that you are love and that you are loved. How important those two things are. So just start with that as I get my talk going. You are loved, you are loved. Last week, I shared some stories about faith and being that helped us understand a little bit more, and today I want to continue with some more. And start by saying what a difference a week makes. What's happened in this last week since I was here with you last Sunday. And I'd like you all to take a deep breath and just allow yourself to be here. Take another one and let things go. And in this moment, I would like you to recognize that God is within you, right now, always. God is never apart from you. It's only our own minds. So feel the energy of God in you taking care of you while all of this is happening. And while you're doing that, I would like to ask you a simple question. Where's your focus? Right now, it may be hard to keep your focus on the future and away from the media blitz that's going on so much about the virus. But we can choose to love, we can choose safety, and we can choose health for others and still focus on our future without internalizing the gloom and doom that's being presented. The places that I go out to, which isn't a whole lot right now, but I always tell people, have a healthy day. Choose to make it that way. And so I have a positive attitude because I know no matter how things look in this moment, we all will be able to look back at this time, and we even now, as Steve just said, he's starting to see something different. We can see some good in this situation. Therefore, it doesn't help me or anyone to have a negative or fearful attitude. It just adds to the virus. So in the moment, as you're hearing this talk, you are alive. You are here. So we can say, great for that. Take a breath and rejoice in that you are here and alive. Your electronics and mine are working, and we're using them more than ever right now, so we can rejoice in that as well. Where I am, the sun came out finally yesterday after 4 or 5 days of cold and wind. I said, hooray for that. We have lots to give thanks for, and we need to remember that during situations like this. So take another breath and realize that life is changing. And it's changing for the good. I want to let you know that. So right now, in this moment, it may feel like a roller coaster ride. Things are going up and down. And personally, I thought I was one of those that was too old to ride a roller coaster. I didn't connect to that, but I feel like that's what's happening right now. And life has other ideas about what's going on for me and you. I know that eventually things will work out. And we just need to keep open to that. But when it does, we will probably be different people, though, through our growth that's happened, our understanding, through learning how to be more in life, which I'm talking to you about, and that's a good thing. So I ask you all, are you riding with me on this roller coaster right now? I ask you to stay safe and know that you are loved and you are healthy right now. So now I ask along with that, can we take sensible precautions in our life without being in fear? Who do we need to be in this process? It's a subject that's been given a lot around, given the world's stage. And I've talked about this before. We know that everything in this world is on a stage. We need to remember that. But having it on a stage does not make it real in the same way that we perceive it to be real in our own life, does it? Of course, there are actors on the stage, including us, including me, that are playing their parts wearing their costumes. But there's something else going on deeper than that, which is on the stage as well. And because we know it to be a stage that we're all playing these roles, doesn't mean that we don't take sensible precautions. So as you know, things are happening in this world at a fast rate with a particular virus that seems to be spreading its wings. And I'm not talking about the coronavirus. I'm talking about fear. That's what's really spreading its wings. Or maybe we should say that's what's emerging from the muck of our consciousness. And it's here to finally be released. The light of God is coming down below and pushing the darkness to the surface so that we can bless it and release it and open ourselves up to the truth of who we are. We all know the question becomes in the process of our feeling things and releasing things, what precautions do we take? What fits for us? What sensible steps do we follow? Well, again, I want to tell you that I'm on a stage, not just this one, but in my life. And yes, I know that we're acting out a role into a situation that we're now being called to act differently than we have in the past. We're asked to take sensible precautions, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm in fear or anybody is in fear when we do that. But I've heard a lot of confusion around this subject. I hear certain people say, well, why would you stop doing this or doing that? Because when you stop it, all you're doing is fear. So I'm just going to be doing what I want to do. I'm going to go wherever I want to go. I'm going to be in groups of people. I'm going to hug everyone because I'm not in fear. Well, that's one way of going. But isn't it fearful to also look at the guidance that everyone is receiving to tell us about how to make us well and choose differently? So I'm going to say, all right, maybe right now, I'm not going to choose to hug somebody right now. I'm going to stay clear of large groups and let people say that I'm in fear, but I'm not going around hugging others. That may be a good thing unless we feel safe with each other. The question is, which one of those is the truth? Well, in reality, they both are, because it matters what we think about things. Those that think that particular thought is truth to them, as well as what I think is truth to myself or the rest of us. And until I see the truth of who I am, which is whole and complete and healthy and love, that is the deeper truth of what we need to get into amongst all of this. And then I take sensible actions because that's my being state, which I've talked to you about before. The doing will come from the being. Choose to be the one that's choosing health. How do you do that? Not only changing your mind, as I've said, sanitize your mind as well as your hands so that you clear out the negativity. And I can wash my hands frequently, but that doesn't mean I'm in fear. It's like playing a game in life. I can choose to, at least while things are going on, choose to take precautions. Maybe I could say namaste to somebody instead of hugging them. Wash my hands, do whatever, but mostly carry the thoughts around who I want to be. That is the main thing. And whatever we feel we're guided to do or be, we can choose to see that the light is coming behind it. I would like you all to see that, to open up and say, amongst all this darkness and fear is the light of God shining through. And to just feel it in your body, in your life right now. I have full confidence in that. That's why I talk to you about it, that it's the light of God coming through. And I firmly believe that the more that I open up and visualize and allow this light of God to come through me, it'll erase all the fear, even if I'm taking precautions. It's okay. So the second part of the talk is about releasing our cosmic codes, our DNA. I have talked numerous times here about moving into the fifth dimension, into a higher vibrational energy, and I want to share some information with you about that. Today, the Company of Heaven wants to share with you another step in our ascension process that has been victoriously accomplished through the unified efforts of heaven and earth. So when I say that, heaven and earth, some people think, oh, this is heaven where God's sitting up there and on a chair and judging people and you go there only if you're good. First of all, heaven is right here. God is right here. When I talk about heaven and What I mean is the non-physical side, where God is at, source, spirit, where all of us came from and all of us go back to. So this is something that the I Am presence of each and every one of you has been striving to accomplish for eons of time through your soul. You don't consciously remember this, but your soul does. I ask you right now to set aside any preconceived notice and focus the full power on your attention on this talk right now, on what the company of heaven is revealing about this cosmic moment that's happening to us. The beings of light have reiterated over and over again that we have entered a new decade, and we know that we did that starting this year. Mother and Father God has assured us that during the next 10 years, beloveds, humanity will change the course of history for Mother Earth and all of her life. They have also told us that during this decade, humanity will develop our latent ability to talk with God, to be one with Source. And it will literally transfigure our earthly body and other worldly events that happen out there, remembering that everything that happens outside is a reflection of inside. So as we change inside that's going on, things are going to change outside. And we're going to move into the heart-based patterns of existence associated with what we call the new earth. Now, when this happens, you'll be able to see the trees and the mountains and things the same, but things are going to vibrate at a higher level than they are now. And as we vibrate, we'll be able to connect with all of that. So, the Father and Mother God and the beings of light know, and I know too, that this information may be temporarily beyond the comprehension of your finite mind. Finite meaning closed, only short time, including separate from infinite, which means forever. However, they are sure that as we progress step by step, these words will become clear to you, which is why I'm sharing them with you now. This means that we have crossed the threshold into the full embrace of the new earth, which means that we have severed ties with the entire third and fourth dimensions of old earth. Third dimension is what we lived with for a long time, and that means our body, our mind, and our hearts, how we feel. As we move through the fourth and into the fifth, which means our oneness and connection with God. As we've severed these ties, the doors of these old dimensions have been closed and permanently sealed. We can't go back to them. Mother Earth and all her life evolving have now fully entered the fifth dimension as we tangibly experience this truth. And what's going on right now is a part of that. We can prove to ourselves, beloved, the old adage that we've heard before, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. This is a deeper truth that I'm talking to you about. Humanity's I Am presence has been able to, over the years, heal the wounds created by our soul's fall from grace, when we decided that we were better than God, and we separated ourselves from Him and from her and from each other. Our fragmented and our fear-based human ego has used what we call enslavement codes to manipulate and control us since our fall from grace, through separation and duality that we created millions of years ago. We are being told that the beings of light now, that the cords that have kept us attached to the old earth, listen to this, the cords that kept us attached to the old earth, which included physical, etheric, mental, and emotional bodies, all of those four, has been severed. It means that our fallen human ego can no longer tamper with our human bodies. When I say that, it just feels so good to me to know that we're letting go of our ego that's been in control of our lives. And it can no longer tamper with our human bodies, and the codes can no longer affect us adversely. So do I have a hallelujah that this is happening for us and staying open for it? So, while this has happened, we in mass, all of the I Am presence of each and every one of us has reached a certain frequency and vibration that created an unstoppable shift of consciousness. And this shift, remember, is not occurring outside of us. It is occurring inside of us. It is a cellular-based transfiguration occurring in every electron of your human body, every cell of your body. And that's what's going on from this coronavirus. Every electron, every cell in the body is being fitted or felt with this virus as it goes through, and the light pushes it through and cleans it out of our body. To understand the magnitude of what this means to every one of us, we need to know the old code that we created in our separation from the source and from ourselves. When we created it, God said to us, all I need to do is co-create with me and you shall have everything you want, which includes health, well-being, prosperity, abundance. But the ego, what did it create? Aging, disease, mental and emotional dysfunction, and even death as we know it. And we're now going to be changing that in our lives, beloved. Our I am presence of every man, woman, and child has received a new birth template, what it's going to grow into for our light bodies. And now, for the first time since our fall from grace, our I am presence, which is our soul and our connection to God, will be able to proceed with the divine alchemy taking place within our earthly bodies. That's a lot to absorb, I know. And I will keep talking about it over and over again as we go through this. So this week, I just want you to go home and ask your I am presence, what does all this mean to me? It may not mean anything to you, and that's okay, but it's still happening anyway. So who do I want to be during this time? I keep asking, and I did that a couple of weeks ago, because I want you to know this is a major step. It's a major step towards our ascension process and the transfiguration of our spiritual reality. So, since I've been talking about that going on, I want to share with you about this. Loudly, the ego tells you not to look inwards, for if you do, your eyes will light on sin, and God will make you blind. And some people believe that, so they don't look inside. But I tell you all, do not be afraid to look within. That's where God is at. That's where the light is at. Within you is not what you believe is there. All the old thoughts, I just said, we're getting rid of these thoughts. Let go of thoughts of death, of disease, separation. Put your faith in to what really is there, which is the perfect sign, the holy sign of perfect faith that your God, Father, has within you. Do you sometimes see God or guilt where God knows there is perfect innocence? We do that. Our guilt, our fear comes up, our judgment comes up, when in fact all God sees is perfect innocence. So what I want you to do, beloveds, is look within this week to the light that's within you and learn that what you feared all this time that was there has actually been replaced with love. You may not be aware of it, but it's there. It's time to see it. And such extraordinary moments we are all navigating because people are told to stay at home. There's a silence now upon our planet that is restorative and healing. This entire planet is receiving the blessings of a moment to go within. Imagine how wondrous our skies and our roads are with so much less traffic. But while this is going on, I remind you to see that you are the master of your life. How you choose to relate to this or anything that's going on in your life, as Steve talked about, changes are occurring. You are the master, you and God working together, and you are the one who can choose to dance with the rhythm of your life experience. So I ask you, what's your dance looking like? Joyful, happy, free? I encourage you to remember that nothing in this outer world of density that the ego puts in our way can stop your expansion. It is happening. It's going to happen whether you're going to want to join with it or not, because it's time for that. Only the inner realms and the cosmic energy provide restoration and balance. So the rich opportunity of this moment is spiritual discernment, Being discerning about what is spiritual to you. How is it working within you? Through self-awareness, through being. How many of you simply hear the word disease or virus or stay at home, and you immediately conjure up a picture energy that calls for something less than your highest aspect of yourself? What I mean by that is no matter what is going on, go to the highest part of yourself, your connection to God and Source. For all of us, literally living with this energy around us, we can share regardless of what the universe is inviting you to navigate. You are the master of your moment. So I ask you, make a commitment to Spirit right now. Anchor in your mastery presence of your authentic self, and how you do that, as so many times as I've told you, is by saying yes. The word yes is the word of God. So say that during this week, no matter what is going on. Yes, it's changing. Because your personality self is an ego identity. We have it because we use it for our worldly interactions, but it's only a tool. It's not supposed to be the all of us. And it's easily triggered and addicted to drama and chaos in our lives. So we have an opportunity to change all of that. One gift of this fear-based outer world, take this in please, is to discover more truly your inner truth. What does God say to you? What does your heart say to you? What does your higher mind say to you? And as you listen to it, I want you to anchor to the health and peace and joy that's already within you. Claim it. Bring it out more. Contrast that we have, as we say, good and evil and all this that we created before, can right now help us discern as we become more mindful about what's really essential for us in our lives, what's true for us. Things may be changing rapidly for a whole lot of people and not knowing what they're going to do. Open themselves up. Something's happening. God will provide the doing. All I need to do is be. Be the master. Be tenacious and align with your joy. That would be a good thing. Communicate with friends who are awake and believe in you and communicate the same thing. You want to watch negative words because they have an effect on you energetically as well. Anything around you, all I want you to have is light, love, peace, vibrational energy in everything. Limit your interactions with density-based experiences. Get out of your ego fear. And finally, nourish yourself daily with the essential. And what is that? To me, it is love. How about nourishing yourself every moment of the day with love? So to end the talk, as I did last week, I want to guide you through breathing God's pure source oxygen. So I'm going to say an affirmation at first, and then you guys are going to in-breathe, and I'll say an affirmation. You're going to hold the breath, then you're going to exhale, and then you're going to hold it as it goes out, and we'll do it 3 times. So first of all, I am my I am presence. I am one with the I am presence of all humanity. As one voice, one breath, one heartbeat, and one energy, vibration, and consciousness of pure divine love, I now consciously breathe the most intensified frequencies of God's pure source oxygen. So first of all, take a breath in, and I say I am in-breathing God's pure source oxygen. Hold it in. I am assimilating God's pure source oxygen. Exhale. I'm expanding God's pure source oxygen. And hold it out there. I am projecting God's pure source oxygen. So let's try it 2 more times. In, I'm in-breathing God's oxygen. Hold it in. I'm assimilating God's pure source oxygen. Exhale. I'm expanding God's pure source oxygen. And as you hold the breath, I am projecting God's pure source going out to everybody in the world. One more time. Remembering that I am my I am presence. In breathe, and I say I am in breathing God's pure source oxygen. Hold the breath. I'm assimilating God's pure source oxygen. Exhale. I'm expanding God's source oxygen, and as I hold the breath out, I am projecting God's pure source oxygen. So namaste, beloveds. So let's go to meditation. Join within me, and we're going to talk about the secret of mind power to fit in with the talk. Close your eyes, and for a few moments, I turn away from the outer world that surrounds me so that I can work on the health of my body. As I do this, I recognize and realize that there's a great consciousness within me, a consciousness that has healed me many, many times before when I've not felt well, a consciousness that is a part of the life, the energy, and the reality of the universe. For here within me and surrounding me, my body is a creation of universal life, having taken shape, form, and embodiment. And as I think this, let me feel that there's a greater reality within me, a reality that goes beyond my personal thought, a reality that simply has been without beginning, without end. And I'm a part of that eternal reality that lives and breathes within me. And I know that eternity and this consciousness is the creative intelligence of the universe. It is indeed what human beings have named God. And so at the very center and nucleus of consciousness within myself, there is this great light that I can see, this great force, this great power that created my body and continues to live within my body, a great power, a great energy. That power and that energy is a field of universal light within me and infinitely beyond me, knowing that it can affect all beings on this planet. The power and the energy, and I empower myself with the concept of light, that my body on a spiritual level is filled with the universal light consciousness, again, that we call God. And I now transfer it to all the nucleus of the millions of cells in my body, from the crown of my head to the soles of my feet. Here within myself, the consciousness of universal life exists within me, a light, a presence, a beauty, working in every nerve cell and tissue of my body, healing, renewing, regenerating every vital organ. And at the same time, moving through the various levels of my mind, healing the traumas, the karma, the negativity that could adversely affect my health. And so now, as my body rests in a state of divine equilibrium, I know that all is in order, perfectly, completely. And I am a whole person right now, and I take that in. I am a whole manifestation of the universe, body, mind, and spirit. And for this realization, every day of my life, I give thanks, I let it be, and so it is.
So it is.
Thank you. So, we don't have music right now. Normally we do collections, so I'm going to hold this up as if we're passing a the basket around and doing our collections, and we're going to hold over our heart what it is that we're saying to God. And we join together. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive through infinity. I am prosperous. And so we bless the donations. Those of you that are home, please set a check aside or a tithe and mail it to the church, to Jerry. We need to continue receiving our financial assistance for our expenses and keeping the church open and me here. So we are all blessed at this time. And now the only announcements are that we are closed. The board voted 6-5 to close on Sundays, except for the people that are taking the Sunday morning class and come in here, which is great. Our difficulty is in doing prayer requests. So if any of you here have some, let me know. Those of you that are at home, please text them to me, 970-769-1041, so I can put them together and get them to the prayer team. This is the 5th Sunday of the month. So as I said earlier, we had the Christmas kids jar that I would have passed around. Put your change aside. And guess what? Next Sunday is potluck Sunday. And we're not going to be here, but maybe you can get together with somebody and do a potluck.